Russia is crumbling in a way that I don't think people understand, and it's got really nothing to do with Ukraine, but at the same time it does. When Russia lost having their bases and control over Syria, they lost the most important thing they could have for their navy, and that is that navy base. You see, Russia at this very minute only had really one base in which they could repair their boats, and it's the one in Syria, which, yeah, technically there's two, but there was really one main one in which they could bring their boats that were damaged, and they couldn't really truly bring it to their other bases, which were in Crimea. Russia relied heavily on that base because prior to 2022, if something was wrong with a ship, Russia would just tow it through the Black Sea to the Sea of Azov, and they would repair the ships there. After Ukraine started taking back Crimea by targeting all of those different kind of facilities, whether they be oil facilities, whether they be repair docks, whether they just be regular military facilities, Russia decided to move those bases closer towards like Sochi. But then Ukraine started targeting those bases, and then it got to the point to where, well, Russia had nowhere safe to put things and to fix things, so they started bringing things towards Syria. But then as things started collapsing in Syria, Russia knew that, hey, we're going to have to get our equipment, boats, and men out of this base because if not, it's going to be in the wrong hands and we can't have that. So they took everything they had, all of their ships, things that were still being worked on, and towed them all the way out, not too far away from where it is, where the base was, to kind of see the situation. And while the situation involved Israel then bombing every square inch of that base, making that base almost unusable, but also at the same time, Russia could still use it for some stuff. And so now you have these Russian ships kind of sitting off the coast, waiting to see whether or not they'll be able to go back to this base because it's so critical to them. But now that Russia doesn't have access to these bases, it means they're not only not going to have ports for these ships, but now their operations in Africa are going to slow down because these ships got nowhere to go. And let's also remember that Russia also had air bases inside, which actually, if you look at the photos from the satellites, they still have some aircraft and helicopters just kind of sitting there. All of this being said, this means there's even more additional pressure on Russia. Because if they've got any chance to give those boats, whether they need service or get to a port, their only chance really is to get them back to Crimea, in which that's not going to happen, especially as they're still in their massive force or their operation inside of Ukraine. So this added pressure, plus the pressure from other nations, you're going to see a lot more crumbling of Russia very soon. I'll be sure to keep you guys updated, so be sure to follow me for more.